Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to the channel. UFC 268 is just days away, and I had someone request on one of my other UFC 268 prediction videos. Can you do a prediction for Frankie Edgar versus Marlon Vera? So that's what this video is going to be. This is going to be my full breakdown and prediction of Frankie Edgar versus Marlon Vera. Now, this fight was originally supposed to open the main card, but now there's been some shuffling around because Trevor Whitman coaches, three of the fighters on the card. So now Justin Gaethje versus Michael Chandler is open in the card. So I'm not sure exactly where this fight will be placed on the card. But either way, I'm going to do a prediction. It's a great bantamweight fight. You look at the tail of the tape. Frankie Edgar is currently ranked number 8 in the UFC official rankings, while Marlon Vera is ranked number 13. Frankie Edgar is 40 years old. Marlon Vera is 28. Frankie Edgar is 5'6", while Marlon Vera is 5'8". Frankie Edgar has a 68-inch reach, and Marlon Vera has a 70.5-inch reach. So a little bit of a reach advantage, a massive youth advantage, and a little bit of a height advantage for Marlon Vera. Now, if you look at Frankie Edgar, you have a guy who's a former lightweight champion. I mean, this is just insane. Frankie Edgar has been around for so long. I mean, he's 40 years old. That's crazy. Chito Vera is 12 years younger than Frankie Edgar. So Frankie Edgar's been around a while. He's former lightweight champion. He lost his championship to Benson Henderson. This was right around the time, within a couple years of when I first got into the sport. He lost to Benson Henderson. It was a close decision. Then he loses to Benson Henderson again, close decision. Then he decides to finally move down to featherweight. I know Dana was talking about it for years. Frankie Edgar needs to move down to featherweight. He was fighting at 155, which is just insane. The fact I honestly believe Frankie Edgar might be able to make 125 flyweight. I know that sounds crazy. I don't know if he'll ever do that. But the fact that he was fighting at 155 and he was not cutting a single pound, this was just like his walk around weight. And the fact that he was able to win the title is very impressive. So then he goes down to featherweight, gets an immediate title shot, even though he's on a 2-fight losing streak. He fights Jose Aldo. He loses to him. Then he has some more fights. He goes on a 5-fight win streak. I think he gets another title shot at this point against Jose Aldo. I think it was for the interim title because that's the whole time like Conor was moving up to lightweight, whatever was going on. So he gets another title shot. He loses to Jose Aldo. Then he fights Jeremy Stevens. Then he fights Jair Rodriguez. Then he fights Brian Ortega. And this is on Brian Ortega's rise. And Brian Ortega brutally KOs him. I think Frankie stepped in on short notice there. I can't remember for 100% certain. It was all the way back in 2018. But I think he stepped in on short notice, but I'm not 100% sure. Then he goes on to beat Cub Swanson. And then he gets another title shot, and he fights Max Holloway. And he didn't really deserve this. And this is why I say I'm pretty sure he stepped in against Brian Ortega on short notice, because the UFC kind of owed him. And that's why he only got one win against Cub Swanson. In 2018, even though Cub Swanson, that wasn't that impressive in 2018. And he already had beat Cub Swanson and dominated him in the past. Uh, and he gets a shot at Max Holloway. He gets beat again, another title fight. Then he goes on to fight Chan Sung Jung, gets brutally KO'd, and then he finally moves down to bantamweight where he's at now. He gets a win over Pedro Munoz. That fight was kind of close, but I scored that fight for Pedro Munoz. He was leg kicking him. He was walking him down. I don't know what the judges were looking at. It was a 5-round fight. It was a split decision. Frankie Edgar got the decision, but I don't really think he deserved it. And I picked Frankie Edgar in that fight, but Pedro Munoz beat him. Then he gets the fight against Corey Sandhagen, which is his last fight. That was February of this year. And he gets brutally flying knee KO'd. And we have not seen him since. And now he's returning against Marlon Chito Vera. And this fight was originally supposed to be against Sean O'Malley. And the UFC was trying to build Sean O'Malley. I talked about Frankie Edgar being the most beatable guy in the top 10 of the bantamweight. That's not a slight of Frankie Edgar. It's just bantamweight is full of killers. And I really believe you look at the top 10, Frankie Edgar's the most beatable of that top 10. Well, unfortunately, Sean O'Malley didn't want this fight. He said, you know what? I am going to wait till December, and I'm going to fight a highly talented, highly Paiva. And, Marlon Chito Vera gets the fight against Frankie Edgar. And this is a massive opportunity. Being a number 13 ranked guy, getting a fight against a number 8 guy is super impressive. So you look at Marlon Vera, you look at his resume. He's never been finished in his entire MMA career, 25 fights, which is just insane. It shows his durability. In his last 2 fights, he's 1-1. He got a win over Davey Grant, not super impressive. Before that, he fought Jose Aldo. That was in December of last year. Decent performance. And what people most know Marlon Chito Vera for is his amazing win over Sean O'Malley. You guys No, I always talk about the Sean O'Malley win. The Sean O'Malley cult hates when I say it. But Chito Vera chopped Sean O'Malley down, had him limping around the cage after he hit that nerve, and then he brutally flash KO'd him with elbows, ground and pound. The referee steps in, and then Sean O'Malley had to be stretchered out of the cage. And Marlon Vera got a lot of hype for that win because Sean O'Malley is this highly touted prospect, making his way up the ranks, looking impressive. And Marlon Chito Vera KOs him. Nobody expected that. I picked Sean O'Malley in that fight. I didn't expect to see him stretchered out of the cage. So that's really his most notable win. He has losses to Song Yadong, John Lineker way back when, and that's pretty much all the notable names on his resume. And Marlon Vera, it's crazy that he fought Jose Aldo. I just still can't believe that. And he didn't look terrible in that fight. He had his own moments. I mean, he was never close to winning. I think he lost 30-27, but still to go out there against a great like Jose Aldo. And I know people like to shit on Jose Aldo, and all that, but he's still an elite fighter and he still looks world class. So, just to go out there and not get absolutely destroyed by him, I think is impressive in my eyes. The Davy Grant performance, not that great in my opinion. And really, I talked about it with the Weili Zhang versus Rose Namajunas fight, and it's kind of similar with this fight. I've kind of flipped back and forth. Frankie Edgar is the guy who's the veteran. Really, he's had more fights against notable names. You look back at his resume; he had that great win over Chad Mendes in his prime. But really, you look at Frankie Edgar, and in his last fights, he could arguably be on a 4-fight losing streak. He got the win over Pedro Munoz, but that was a split decision win that he shouldn't have got. So he could have lost to Corey Sandhagen by KO, Pedro Munoz by decision, Chan Sung Jung by TKO, and then Max Holloway by decision. He could easily be on a 4-fight losing streak right now. He's 40 years old. He's so much older than Chito Vera. I think he has a speed disadvantage. I think that Frankie Edgar has the grappling advantage. But what's crazy is I'm not sure of this. I haven't seen them next to each other. I think Marlon Vera may have the size advantage in this fight, and I don't we haven't in recent history seen Marlon Vera get taken down and held down and dominated. I know Frankie Edgar has more power than people give him credit for. The fact that he knocked out Chad Mendes, he stopped Gray Maynard, who's a huge lightweight, but that was so long ago. I am going to go with Marlon Vera by decision. I just think he's younger. I think he's faster. He's taller. He has a reach advantage. I think he can stuff the takedowns. I think he'll land combinations. And also, Frank Edgar's, kind of been a little bit chinny as of late. I hate to say that he's a veteran, but I mean that KO against Corey Sandhagen was filthy. He was just stiffened up. Finished, not that long ago by Chan Sung Jung. I know it was, a decent amount ago, but it was, only December of 2019. And that's 2 of his last 3 fights. And I just don't trust his chin at this point. I don't trust his age. And I just think Marlon Vera is on the come up. I think he's maybe going to crack into the top 10 with a win over Frankie Edgar. He's faster. He has good jiu-jitsu. He has good ground and pound. We've seen it in the Sean O'Malley fight. He had great elbows to Sean O'Malley on the ground and put him to sleep. And I just really believe Frankie Edgar's path to victory is to come out, take him down, hold him down, and really do the same thing he did to Cub Swanson in both his Cub Swanson fights. But I just don't think with the height advantage, the reach advantage, I don't think he's going to be able to get him down. Frankie Edgar is going to struggle. I think Marlon Vera is the bigger fighter here. And, it's just sad. This is a sport where we watch the young eat the old. And I really think Marlon Vera is going to be chopping the legs. He has great leg kicks. He rips to the body very well. He has good hands. I don't know if Marlon Vera will ever be, a number 1 contender or championship caliber fighter. But Frankie Edgar is far past his prime. And Marlon Vera is only 28 years old. So as much as I want to say, maybe we'll see the Frankie Edgar that went out there and starched Chad Mendes. Maybe we'll see the Frankie Edgar that went out there and absolutely derailed the Yair Rodriguez hype train and just grappled him and just destroyed him on the ground and beat him up. I just really don't think that's going to happen. I think that's very optimistic if you think Frankie's going to win. But I'm going with Marlon Chito Vera by decision. I just think he has too many tools. I think Frankie Edgar's too old. I think Marlon Vera is going to be too fast for him. I think he's the bigger guy. And I just think the way the fight's going to consist is Frankie getting pieced up, but he's going to survive. Even though he's chinny, I don't think Vera has that unbelievable power that's just going to sleep him, like that flying knee from Corey Sandhagen did. and I just think he's going to get picked apart for 3 rounds. I think he's going to be looking for takedowns, looking for clinches, and it's just not going to come. Also, Frankie Edgar's always been susceptible to leg kicks, even though he has great footwork. I think Chito's going to chop those legs, limit the footwork of Frankie Edgar, and just pick him apart for 3 rounds. I see Chito Vera winning 30-27. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Who are you picking? Don't forget to like the video, and thank you so much for watching.